Hello and welcome in. So this is the YouTube video that I said I would prepare for you for cacao, properties of cacao, why you might be thinking about what's in your cup. And we often think about what's in our body. We don't necessarily think about what we're drinking. We think a lot about what we're eating and less about what we're drinking and why we're drinking it. So this talk is designed to help you with the information that you need to make those conscious and intentional choices throughout the week. So with whichever energy you want to align with. So I hope that you find this helpful. I'm just going to share my screen so that we can okay. Just shrink this for a moment. Let this one come out. There we go. So looking over here. So we're going to be looking at what's in your cup. And this really is just to focus the mind as to how you start your day, what you're consuming as a beverage during the day, and how to help you there. So who am I? I'm Tori Lenormand. I'm the founder of Gemini Directions. I am a Keith's Cacao practitioner. So I've been working with this company now for a few years, and the reason I work with them is the ethical considerations for harvesting and farming and preparing cacao as it was always intended to be. I found cacao in the middle of a crisis, personal crisis, where it just felt like the whole world was shifting in a way I was not ready for. From work through my children and education, it was really, really challenging times. And I was introduced to cacao at that point and found a great ally. So I'm sharing that information with you to add it to your list of what you might want to consider having as your ally, your dietary supplements. It's completely natural. It just needs to be a ceremonial grade cacao, and that's what we're going to talk about in a bit. So that's the aim of this talk, is to give you the information that you need to make the right choices around cacao. Now, ceremonial grade has never been trademarked or anything else. So you need to be aware of what you're looking for it to be a true ceremonial grade cacao. So starting with, how do you start the day? There's nothing bad here. It's what direction do you have? Where, oh, look, we've shot on an extra screen. We need to go back one. Let's go back. Here we go. Oh, how do you start the day? Tea. Cup of tea in the morning. Very British, isn't it? Very English way of starting the day. Tea is rich in antioxidants, improves heart health, weight management. There's many, many different teas that are available on your supermarket shelves or in bespoke tea making services. So you will find shops dedicated to different types of tea, caffeinated, uncaffeinated, never ever seen anything to do with caffeine, herbal teas, teas for your gut health, teas for improved mental health. These are, it's a huge variety that is now available to you, and it's a conscious choice of what you're going to be drinking. I know many people have a selection of teas in their homes to align with their purpose, their intentions, and that for the day. Coffee too. Coffee now comes in many different shapes and varieties. I put the squirrel here because it reminds me of squirrel energy. When I have coffee, I think I am, if you're not buzzing, you need another cup. That kind of energy. It's a quick spike, like sugar in your system. It's a quick spike and a crash. That is why you're having another cup, and then it affects your sleep, and then it can affect everything else. So we all know the highs and lows of caffeine and where it can support you. So I just love this squirrel coffee business. It's an intense hit to your body. It's a wake me up. It's caffeine activates the stress response in your body. It works on your central nervous system. It can leave you quite dehydrated. Where tea is quite hydrating, caffeine can leave you quite dehydrated, and really you want to be drinking plenty of water throughout the day with your coffee. And before all the coffee houses that we're all so fond of and popping up everywhere, there was this whole black and white era of cacao houses, chocolate cafe here. So let's look at why. Let's look at the history of cacao and how we've kind of lost our way with her as a drink. So cacao grows naturally around the equator in these areas. It's a plant that's preferring particularly warm and the climates that you're going to find around the equator. It's indigenous to these areas. And the tree is Theobroma cacao. And Theobroma is the food of the gods. Beautiful, isn't it? You see how the pod grows directly on the tree? And when you open that pod, you see this yeasty, pulpy seed on the inside. So cacao's never raw because that's a yeast surrounding it. It doesn't taste anything like chocolate. It tastes like a fruit at that particular point. And it's enjoyed by people who live and work around cacao trees as a fruit at this stage. It's only when toasted in the sun. So it's laid out on great racks to dry and ferment. The yeast on the seed ferments. At that point, you're forming a hardened shell and you have the cacao beans inside. So the beans are raked until they're all brown. You see them checked by hand. And then we're hand toasting the bean. The reason for this, for cacao to be hand toasted rather than roasted in an oven, is that our tostistadors and those other purveyors of ceremonial grade cacao, wherever you find your high grade cacao, is absolutely fine. It's the right one for you. Then you need to be sure that it's been toasted by hand, because if it's overheated at this stage, we're breaking down the properties that we'll go on to discuss in a minute that are naturally occurring within cacao that speak to your body. It's almost the perfect partnership, the properties of cacao and the human body. So our ancestors knew this, I think, way before we did. So you can see the types of shell that get removed here. They're not really good for much afterwards, other than placing as maybe some kind of compost over the soil, and that's what would happen to them. Love these old Hessian sacks. So the chocolate making process as we know it in the West is like this. It involves the roasting of the bean, the drying, the roasting, and then it's pressed, refined, conched, tempered, molded, and packaged. We take out the cacao butter in our chocolate bars and we add milk, at which point chocolate is about as far removed from the original cacao as it could possibly be. And yet we crave it. There's a very distinctive smell, isn't there, with chocolate? I wonder if it does actually work on your olfactory senses, your old knowing that there's something good in here that you're seeking. It smells the same, but it isn't actually the same. The biggest problem is that we remove the cacao butter. The reason we do that is that the industry as a whole understands the value of the cacao butter to the beauty industry. So you'll find it in your face creams and your hair products and all of those bits and pieces. But imagine the goodness for your body when it's kept in its original form and it's ingested as part of your daily drink. It does what it does with most plant medicines in that it allows your body to absorb the wholeness of it, the whole properties. It's called an entourage effect when you have the whole plant in its original form that is naturally talking to your body. You get the benefit of absorption in the way that you're supposed to. When you start overheating it, removing parts of it, it doesn't work in the same way. When you add sugar and milk, it becomes a product where you're gaining weight as well. So in our cacao, in a ceremonial grade cacao, you will find a bloom on the bar. It looks like a bloom, like if you bought a bar of chocolate that was going off and it's got that odd colouring to it. This isn't a bloom in a ceremonial grade cacao. This is the cacao butter that's ordinarily being removed. But you'll know it's complete when you buy it in a bar and you've got that beautiful marbling of cacao butter all the way through. There's no milk or sugar added to ceremonial grade cacao, only what you wish to. If you do have a sweeter palate, then honey or stevia would be a natural sugar that you can add to taste, a natural sweetening that you can add to taste. Again, adding a plant milk rather than a milk from an animal will be a little bit more supportive to your system. It won't confuse it so much. And we don't have things like snap, gloss and texture for our cacao bars. They are raw. Well, as I said, not raw because we ferment in the sun, but it's not interrupted in its natural process. The Mayo-Chinchipe peoples are the first peoples that we know of that are using cacao as part of ceremony, as a celebration, in honouring their tribal leaders, used as currency for trade amongst the tribe. But in 3200 BC, or pottery that's been dated to this period, this is where we find intense concentration of theobroma cacao. And that concentration of theobromine only comes from the cacao. So for 5,000 years, we've been using this beautiful plant to support mind, body, and soul. The Mayans would say that cacao was essential for the body and the soul, was chocolate for the body and the foam for the soul. Now, in archaeological findings, these very large jars are anticipated to have been used for pouring the cacao from jar to jar repeatedly until you got that lovely foamy top. Now, in the modern age, I tend to use my blender or a whisk to create the foam. I think many people enjoy it. If you don't want the foam, then you can quite easily just make it in a pan without the foam. So, why cacao? Cacao as a choice of beverage for you, morning, noon, or in the evening. Again, watching your dosing, is the world's most nutritionally dense and complex food. It is a superfood. It is a high source of antioxidants, magnesium, chromium, manganese, and theobromine. I'll come back to chromium later because people do get concerned about the metals in cacao. But magnesium is incredibly high. Magnesium is one of those minerals that we need for the body's absorption, supporting your sleep, supporting your well-being. The cacao butter enables the metabolism of all the nutrients in cacao, creating mental clarity and focus. So we all know that when we drink a cup of coffee, we're ding, awake. With cacao, think slow release focus. It's an ability to focus for a long period of time without the crash. At the same time, cacao promotes bone and heart health because cacao doesn't work on your central nervous system in the same way as caffeine, as your coffee does. Especially now that we seem to have larger measures of coffee than we've had before. But cacao is working on your cardiovascular system. The magnesium is what's helping you metabolize carbohydrates and glucose, or the magnesium, the cacao butter are helping you metabolize. There are links, reports from doctors and scientists suggesting that it can support in assisting the prevention of type 2 diabetes. Again, if you're having any medical issues, it's best to have a conversation with a cacao practitioner, have a conversation with your GP, and between you work out a safe way for you to try cacao. There is no sugar in cacao. So, unless you're adding it, it's a perfectly safe way for you to be working with your cardiovascular system and supporting the prevention of type 2 diabetes. But again, if you're at all concerned, then you need to reach out. Either come to me on my website. You can book an appointment completely free. At the book appointments, let me know what the issues are that you're facing, and we will work together to come up with a plan, along with your medical practitioner. Ideally, you would have been told if you have a chocolate allergy or you have to avoid all kinds of chocolate, then cacao would not be for you. But if you haven't been told that, or that you have such a serious heart condition that you can't have chocolate, then they would be the only real things that you needed to be very, very careful about, along with don't give it to your pets, please. So it's definitely not for pets. It's been linked to relief from constipation, PMS, anxiety. Myself and a number of my clients use cacao for support through menopause. It's been incredibly supportive, and yeah, very, very high. You're looking at a very high quality of cacao, of high level of magnesium in this cacao. The least amount of processing that it's had, the better for you. So there is a way that chocolate can actually be healthy. If you've ever been confused about chocolate's good for me, chocolate's not good for me. If you're talking dark chocolate from a shop, it's of course better, but there's still sugar and milk, and it's not going to be so easy for your body to break it down if it's had all of the properties broken down by how it was prepared in the first place. But cacao, like this is very good for you. Nutritional elements are, it's full of antioxidants and flavonols, which helps with slowing down the damage to your cells caused by our free radicals, supporting your cardiovascular, your heart, and cognitive health, your brain. Relaxing the blood vessels improves blood flow and lower blood pressure. It can be almost like a blood thinner, like an aspirin. Again, any health concerns that you have, please book in and we will work together to make the inquiries so that you feel quite safe. The Kuna Indians were found to have the lowest incidence of cancer, hypertension, and cardiovascular disease, and quite high usage of cacao. Let's go back to these heavy metals then. So cadmium is one of the heavy metals that the EU and the CA regulations talk about, you needing to be mindful of the heavy metals that you're having. So there's lots and lots of stories out there about metals in your food and metals in certain substances. And cacao is one of the substances that would retain cadmium because it occurs naturally in food sources grown in volcanic soil. So think around the equator line, that's where you're going to find this kind of soil. It is also found in cereals, vegetables, nuts, roots, potatoes, and meat. So you want to look at the cumulative effect of what you're eating. So the human intake must be less than 0.80 parts per million, and our high-grade cacao is 0.12 parts per million. So you can see that a cup a day is not going to be causing you issues with the regulations or with the advice. African soil actually has less cadmium due to its non-volcanic soil. So you may prefer to source there if you have higher levels of cadmium in your diet due to cereals and meat, potatoes. Why does cacao make me feel fabulous? This is a question I asked at the beginning, and certainly something that a number of my clients will stumble across. But the power of cacao comes from its unique combination of nutrients. It's not just one element, it's that entourage effect I was talking about, which is so supportive for your body so naturally. Your body has receptors, psychoactive compounds in cacao actually talk to the natural receptors within your body. It's almost like coming home. So phenethylamine is high in cacao, as is anandamide. And it's these two neurochemicals that really, really help you fall in love with chocolate. So the phenethylamine is the love chemical. It's in cacao. It increases dopamine production. It's incredibly powerful in that experience of coming back to yourself. It's that same chemical that is released in your body when you fall in love. So really quite beautiful. And anandamide is the bliss chemical that is found in cacao. The chocolate industry has morphed and changed over the thousands of years that Theobroma cacao has been growing and harvested. It's part of communities around the world that have generations and generations of families involved in cacao farming. So there are a number of stories around child labour in cacao. By switching your chocolate natural need for your body for cacao, by switching from your cacao bar to your ceremonial grade cacao in your cup, you're also supporting those communities and areas that want to thrive with the natural products growing with them. To have that broken down or exploited to profit is something I think many people are waking up to and finding quite uncomfortable. Keith's Cacao in particular is totally committed to its community in Guatemala and ensuring we are beyond fair trade with the farmers and those that are preparing cacao in the traditional way. So we get to preserve the properties and we get to benefit from it in this way. So there's a lot of wins by including this beyond yourself for our planet and for our communities, for our indigenous communities, as well as communities where cacao is naturally growing and producing these incredible beans. We rebalance by checking the source. It is important to check the source of your cacao. Don't be afraid to ask your cacao suppliers if what their preparation is, whether they're separating out the cacao butter, whether there is what type of bean they're using. Is it native to the area? Is it a more forestier bean, which would be larger and more preferable by commercial cacao growers? The yield is much higher from them. The Criollo bean is the native bean. It's a smaller bean, but our founder at Keys Cacao would say it has a much higher vibration. And that is a rundown of what is in your cup. I hope that you found this useful. I hope that it helps you in making your choices and your decisions about including cacao in your cup. So for anybody that would like to start integrating cacao in their day-to-day life, I'm running a 30-day program to help you transition from caffeine to cacao, and you're very welcome to sign up. So it starts on the 5th of April 2025. We're going to start our first one, and I'm here to support you the whole way. You will have emails, recipes, whatever you need to help integrate cacao into your life. It takes 30 days to change a habit, so that's why we're running it for 30 days, to see if we can help you shift. So if you're interested in including this mindfully into your diet or to your lifestyle, or if you want to work with cacao as a ceremonial mindfulness and mental health well-being, then endeavor, then please just let me know. But you're more than welcome to sign up. You can go to the website at geminidirections.co.uk and book an appointment, and I will have a discussion with you about how you can sign up for our 30-day cacao challenge. So I really don't mind what cacao you use. I really don't mind. I think cacao is here to serve, and everybody has exactly what they need in their cup. So you go with your personal preference, and the only information I'm really giving you today in earnest is that you know what to look for if you're looking to work with a ceremonial grade cacao. So you know what questions to ask of your cacao provider so that you're informed as to what is in your cup. So I'm sending you loads of love. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. And like I say, if you want anything else, then please just pop over to the website, book an appointment, and it's completely free for you to make an inquiry. So I look forward to hearing from you. Bye.